I just spent 4 hours in what I thought was a haunted house, but turned out to be so much more. It's something called Gone Home, and there's been a lot of debate about whether it's a video game, or a simulation, or a piece of art, but whatever it is, it's a surprisingly moving experience. The great thing about Gone Home is that anyone, whether or not you're a gamer, can easily pick it up and experience it. But Gone Home is best played knowing nothing about it, so you might want to check it out first before watching this video if you don't want any spoilers. At first glance, Gone Home looks like a boilerplate haunted house game. It's a dark and stormy night, and the rooms are dark, and there are red lights, and the place is abandoned. I got so tense that every time I entered a room, I had to ask James to put his hand on my shoulder to steady me just in case there was something scary inside. I am easily frightened, and James is comforting. When he wants to be. Sometimes he hides in closets and jumps out to scare me, but that has nothing to do with the game. The game isn't about jump scares. Instead, it's the disorientation that's scary. When I started playing, I wasn't sure who I was, or where anyone in the home went. The game suggests that you're playing as a teenage girl who's been in Europe for a year, returning to your family home, but nobody's there. So at first, I was sure that I was playing as a serial killer, or a ghost, or maybe as a dinosaur? But no, that's overthinking it. You're a regular human walking through your house after a year abroad. You get a sense of what's going on as you wander, rummaging through drawers and reading diary entries that have been conveniently scattered around the rooms, as one does with a diary. There are clues that something terrible happened in the house, maybe a murder or something worse. Papers hint that your uncle is responsible for some kind of terrible trauma, and as you uncover those clues, you also read that your younger sister Samantha is trying to make friends at her new high school, your dad's a frustrated writer, your mom's getting too close to a coworker, and Samantha, your sister, is secretly a lesbian. Wait, what? Well, at first, it's just hinted at.
Well, there's this girl. I think she's a senior. She's usually dressed kind of punk.
I wasn't sure if she was actually a lesbian or if I was just doing the thing that I always do and assume that everyone is queer, but the more that you explore, the more you learn about your sister and her new friend, Lonnie.
But that's when she said, "You're so beautiful." And she was looking at me.
The whole game took me about 4 hours to play, and by the end I'd really gotten to know all the characters without ever having met them. All I had to do was ransack all their papers. And the story that emerged was of a family under tension, centered around a sister falling in love with her best friend.
After a minute, she put her arm around me and was so close and whispered in my ear, "I really like you." I just nodded my head, and I really hoped she could tell.
I went into this afraid that it was going to be a zombie shooter with lots of surprise scares, but what I actually got was a tender teenage lesbian love story.
I looked at her. Lonnie, do you think you could ever... And that's when she kissed me.
The most striking thing about Gone Home is how perfectly it captures the feeling of being a queer teen in the 1990s, a subject I happen to know a thing or two about. Samantha talks about going to see Pulp Fiction with a girl she likes. I saw Pulp Fiction at a cast party with a boy that I liked. I put my hand on his knee and thought we were cuddling until I realized that he'd passed out. And then there's the music in the game. Oh man, remember mixtapes? And remember Riot Girl? Remember how important it was to go to shows? For me, it was going to the Tune-In in New Haven to see Two Skinny Jays, and then making sure to wear the band t-shirt to school the next day, and then having to scoff and move on when the popular kids discovered Real Big Fish. Gone Home knows exactly what that's about. It even has zines. Oh, the 90s were so great. Mortifying, but great. But most of all, this game knows the feeling of liking someone and wanting to tell them, but being scared and holding back. That's why all those horror tropes are in there. Being a closeted gay teen feels like living in a haunted house. You're in a familiar place, your family and friends are close, you should feel safe, and yet you're so lonely, and there's something invisible that's stalking you everywhere you go.
But I don't think they know about us. The kids at school, though, I'm really afraid that's a whole other story.
Look at all these creepy hallways and passages, not to mention the hidden doors and secret closets. When I was 14, I was going to crazy lengths to keep my feelings in a sort of emotional secret closet. My friends and I would all tell each other that we had crushes on girls, but obviously we saw something in each other, because now most of the friends that I had back then are openly gay. It kills me that we didn't talk about it at the time, but it was just too hard for us to do. As scared as I am of thunder and lightning now, in 1995 I was scared that being gay meant that I'd be rejected, or beat up, or ostracized by the friends I just started to make at those all-ages shows. But there's more than fear in Gone Home. There's also the excitement of discovering what you are and what you can be. Samantha and Lonnie have a secret spot for just the two of them in the attic. I had that on the bench seat of my first boyfriend's pickup truck.
When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here.
Once you start exploring, and once Samantha starts coming out, even if it's to just a few people, that's when you find a place that's safe. It's not all haunted house. In the game, Samantha ultimately runs away with her girlfriend, but not forever. She plans to come back. She just needs some time to explore.
But I hope as you read this journal, and you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did. And that you won't be sad, and you won't hate me, and you'll just know that I am where I need to be.
I used to go driving around with my high school boyfriend for hours, and there in that truck we had a safe little bubble where being gay wasn't scary anymore. That's where I started to feel like I could be safe in other places too. When I started Gone Home, I was convinced I was about to find a murder scene, or zombies, or maybe be responsible for a murder scene, or zombies. But instead, I got a love story with a happy ending. A love story that felt like my story. The nostalgia of the game is absolutely perfect, and I'm so grateful to the developer, Fulbright, for taking me back to the 90s. But Gone Home does more than that. It looks from the outside like a very mainstream, conventional, mass-market shooter. A game that appeals to people who would never in a million years play a queer romance. Players walk into what they think is a haunted house and walk out having experienced the fear and anxiety and excitement that was familiar to folks like me, but totally new to folks like them. Within its first few months, Gone Home sold 250,000 copies. And those 250,000 people were probably not all mid-90s teenage lesbians. But now, thanks to this game, hundreds of thousands of people have spent a few hours experiencing the world from that point of view. And that's a great surprise ending. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and at Matt Baum on Twitter. Subscribe for more videos and check out my podcast, The Sewers of Paris, for revealing stories about the entertainment that changed the lives of gay men. Now, if you'll excuse me, Tino's getting me into a rave at Let's Bolt.